Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from South Carolina, from her childhood home, Kyshona Armstrong. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, the folks are excited, as are we. And so excited to revisit one of her records today and to chat with her about her music. But before we do that, we got some business to take care of. It's Friday. It's 4 o'clock Central, which for us, every Friday, that means it's happy hour time. So, Tony, what are you drinking today?
I'm going up to Duluth, Minnesota, to the Bent Paddle Brewing Company for their 14-degree ESB.
Yeah, ooh, I like that one.
Amber color, very fall-like.
Yeah, kind of perfect for today. For those of you not in Minnesota, it's a kind of definitely gray fall, blistery day. So I've gotten out the whiskey. I need to warm up a bit. So I couldn't find a good Nashville whiskey in honor of Kyshona joining us today. But I have a Jim Beam. So still staying in the South.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. So that's what I have going on. Kyshona, what are you drinking?
Well, my father doesn't drink, so out of a mason jar, I am drinking a Malbec.
Oh, nice.
I didn't feel it high, so I don't think I've drank all that. But it was only,
No judgment here.
No.
Yeah. And if I can recommend a Tennessee whiskey or bourbon to you, may I please recommend Uncle Nearest?
Ooh,
I don't know if you've heard of Uncle Nearest, but it is a Black woman-owned and run distillery in Tennessee, and all the awards. And so I believe her grandfather or great grandfather actually taught the Jim Beam folks how to make this whiskey. So he was the father of, or is it Jack? Is it Jack Daniels? Maybe that's what it is. Jack Daniels. Don't listen to me. But either way.
No, that's so great. Well,
yeah,
see if we can find it here.
Again?
Uncle Nearest, and it is the best.
All right, we're going to link to that in the show notes for this. So if you're watching later, you can click on over. That sounds awesome.
If I can get a, what's that called? Like a little, can they give me free stuff if we talk about it? No, not if I do that.
We'll work on it. We'd be open to sponsors here on the show.
Sponsorship, yes.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate the tip. And looks like Chris is joining us with his Uda pills after some yard work and leaf burn. Yeah, it's that kind of day for that kind of work. And then we have some Jack Daniels, actually. So we have some Tennessee whiskey represented. And let's see, Matt from Urbana, it's Friday. And we are so excited. And Mason Jar Malbec, new brand. It's true. That would be a great name,
Yeah.
Well, we are excited to have you here on the show today. I can't remember. I found a photo of us at the Turf Club in St. Paul.
I saw that.
Yes. And I actually put a little trivia question, which we'll get to later in the show, about what you, me, and Katie Dahl, who's also been a guest here on Back Catalog Listening Party, what the three of us have in common, other than being songwriters. There's something else we all have in common, and folks can throw in their guesses in the comments, but we'll get to it a little bit later in the show for sure. But I think the last time I saw you was actually maybe New Orleans at Folk Alliance, possibly.
Oh yeah, that would have been it.
It was for most people.
Yeah, that was it. That
was like the last time you saw a lot of people, Ellen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it was like January of 2020, so it was like the last hurrah.
It really was.
And we were probably giving each other COVID and didn't know it. I mean, I don't know.
Real talk though, my friend Shannon, who we shared a hotel room and shared a bed in the hotel room, because Folk Alliance. She definitely she went on tour right after that. And was like, she had to get an inhaler. She was coughing up not good stuff. And was like, I can't kick this. And then everybody was like, yeah, there was like a contagious bit of pneumonia going around. No.
That was
COVID, y'all. And I don't know how I slept in a bed with this girl and did not get it. So I'm grateful.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so glad you're healthy and out there. And I know you've actually gotten to play real shows for people, which is exciting. Before we came on today, you were like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot what doing this online thing is like. But we're really excited you've hopped on with us, especially as you're spending time with family right now in South Carolina. So thank you for taking the time out today to chat with us. And we're going to revisit your 2014 release, Go, which I'm really excited about. Tony and I were talking about how we've been listening this week. And although I'm familiar with much of your music, I did not know this record. So I'm really excited to talk
I didn't
about it.
either. And yeah, it was an enjoyable week of homework.
Oh, I love it.
Best
Me
homework
too.
possible. So, but before we dig in, we usually just want to, for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with your music, ask a little bit about, where you grew up, how you got into playing music, and kind of maybe what led up to the making of this particular record.
Yeah. So the first question, where did I grow up? I grew up in Irmo, South Carolina, where I am right now, which is a little suburb of Columbia. Um, and my grandparents and my parents, they're from Winnsboro, and my grandpa HT used to play in gospel quartets. My father plays guitar, and behind me you can see the piano that they got when I started taking piano lessons. And I was honestly a classical kid, so I grew up playing piano and then oboe as well. I majored in oboe in college, and I studied music therapy. And I have to say, like, even though I was surrounded by, people that played instruments and sang all the time, I was not a singer. I was the one that's like, just let me go in the quiet space and, play a little Beethoven, a little fur release for everybody. And I love because the oboe, you can't sing while you're playing it, clearly, But I started writing because I got burnt out in my very first job as a music therapist. And so I was always teaching other people how to write songs for their own healing. I was teaching them how to write a mantra and how to write something that they could, like an anthem, that for them to use in the times that they were not with me, just as little mantras and memories and reminders, of how to self-control, how to calm down, how to control their anger. But then I found that I needed it as well to just release the demons. So I kind of kept to it. And then I think 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, I tapped out of music therapy just because I've been working in mental health for a little over 10 years. And sometimes you got to know when it's time to just tap out. And so I thought I'll give this whole full-time singer-songwriter thing a try. And here I am. Yeah, here I am. Cool. That was like the Cliff's Notes of it.
Yeah, I bet a few things happened in between there.
Oh, yeah.
And so where does this album come in terms of your catalog? I know this isn't your first, so.
So this is technically the fourth album I put out. We don't talk about the first one. That was called Soul, the Heart of Kyshona. Nobody needs to know about it. And then I had one called Music that came out in 2008. 2010, I put out an album called Home Again. And I put this one out in 2014. And this album, what's special about Go is that it came when I was in transition from Athens, Georgia to Nashville, Tennessee. So I had moved to Nashville, and then in the midst of recording was just going back and forth to Athens because I hadn't met anybody. Why, like people I'm sure like, why would she go all the way back to Athens to record if she's in Nashville? But that's where my crew was. That's where my band was. My friends were. So, I put the album out and then toured that for a year out of Nashville. And it was kind of nice. It was different to have like all of the beginnings and the roots of it happen in a different state and city and pod, and then trying to play shows and my band isn't here with me in Nashville. And, but it was special. It was still a very special record. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, it looks like Alan and Bev have joined us just in time because we're going to start with the music. Alan joining us from Texas and Bev from here in Minneapolis. And, Bev, you have a really good-looking drink. Yes.
I am proud.
I want one of those.
That was my summer drink. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are going to dig into this record. So let's start with the first song that you picked out called Alma Ree.
Come on,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
I know. We were practicing the pronunciation of these song titles before it came on, and I was like, Alma Ree, and you're like Alma Ree.
Hard A's,
hard A's. Put the Al in the Alma. So tell us a little bit about the song, or do you want to play it and then talk about it?
Yeah, I could tell you about it. This is about my grandma Alma. This is Grandma Alma as a young and sprightly woman. I found this photo at my great aunt's house, her sister's house. And I'll tell you this, Grandma was big on all of us kids in church crossing our legs and keeping our ankles crossed. And so to see this and like, Grandma, look at all the legs she's showing. I showed all my cousins and we were like, Grandma showing a whole bunch of leg. And plus that plant, I'm like a plant fanatic now, and we're very envious of this plant in the background. But this is the essence of my grandma, diva, you know. And there's when I knew her, when I got to know Grandma, she was known as like the hat lady in church. So there's a picture of her with this like grand hat.
That's amazing.
That is just phenomenal. I think we have it there somewhere in the mix, so you all can see my Grandma Alma in her later days.
Yeah, let's see here. Let me get that up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There she
Oh,
is.
yes.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
Do you see this masterpiece here?
I'm sorry, the
on her
Queen of
head?
England has nothing on her.
I'm saying this is before hats were like a big thing
Yeah.
in England. You know what I'm saying? Like this is brand, right? But this was my grandma, like on a church day. Like her hats were just phenomenal. So I wish I could have become a hat lady. But
There's
yeah,
still time.
There's still plenty of time.
I'm a head wrap lady. I don't know what a hat lady. But I had a lot of memories of her. So I wrote the song after she passed away. And I'll tell you when I first moved to Nashville, I was still writing for the record, right? And I think it was like the first week or two that I was sleeping in my new bedroom, and I dreamt of my Grandma Alma. She came to me in a dream, and like her moo and her hair in a French roll, and whenever she wasn't in a hat, she had like finger waves and a nice little French roll going, but she showed me her hands first. And so I saw her hands in this dream, like in the sink, washing her hands or something. And I looked up and I saw my Grandma Alma, and I was like, "Oh gosh, Grandma, how have you been? I've missed you." She told me like, "I'm doing great, baby. I have no pain in my body." She had a lot of back pain in her later days, but like she's like, "I got no pain in my body. I'm doing great." And I called my mom and told her that. And my mother is here, I believe, too. Hey, Mama. But I told my mom, I dreamt about Grandma Alma. She was like, that was her way of telling you that you're in the right place. You like did the right thing moving to Nashville. So I was like, well, that song has to go on Go, since it's part of the whole story behind the word go, which I'll tell you about later. Anyway.
Great.
So we can listen to Alma Ree if you want to.
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right. Let's give it a listen. This is Kyshona with Alma Ree on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Still hear her humming. Say these words here with me. Alma Ree got down and she told me to pray that night, pray that night, pray that night. I still hear her humming. river's tide. Alma Ree closed her eyes, kept the faith, finished the race, with a smile on her face. Alma Ree laid down where she prayed and saw the light. She saw the light. She saw the light. I still hear her humming. Let my steps be light, yeah. Keep my hands steady, Lord, yeah. Let my tongue be no sword. Keep my hands steady, Lord, yeah. Let my tongue be no sword. Let my tongue be no sword. Let my tongue be no sword.
Love that little ending, that sprinkle at the end. That is Kyshona with Alma Ree about her grandmother here on the back catalog listening party from her album Go, which came out in 2014. We are revisiting it today. And big thanks to all of you for joining us. Feel free to throw in comments, questions about the songs, questions for Kyshona, and we'll try and get to as many as we can. And man, that song has such an incredible vibe to it.
Such a groove.
Isn't it? I was like, I forgot that my head always goes in a circle when I'm doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't stop.
I know. Often we have the bobblehead, but this was definitely a
this is just
the circle of life. Yeah.
Well, and it kind of has actually it's kind of amazing when you're telling the story about seeing your grandmother, having your grandmother visit you in your dream, because it does kind of have a bit of a ghostly vibe to it.
Yeah. And it's amazing because I had just started writing songs in open tuning. Like I wrote this one in open D minor tuning. And so what I love about playing in a different tuning is often it strips away the rules. You just like, this sounds cool. I don't know what it is, but I like it, And this was the first one I think that I had like ventured into just finding a set of chords. I couldn't tell you what the chords are, but I liked the way they sounded. And it did give this like secular feel to it, this like circular motion, which does feel very dreamy to me, And it's so funny because I wrote that, I feel like I just like preached to myself in that song because I wrote down the line, let my tongue be no sword, which is something I have been working on lately, is how I say things to people. And how I speak to myself. A lot of times I am so harsh to myself, and that whole "let my tongue be no sword" thing. I was like, "Yeah, girl, like grandma used to tell you that." Like, let's remember that. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool too. You're still learning from your grandma even now, so I think that's cool. And it's kind of goes back to something you mentioned earlier in your work as a musical therapist, that the mantras, right? And it sounds like that might be one of those sneaking in there.
Yes, it really is. And what's interesting too, whenever I listen to recorded versions of songs now, because I am a music therapist at heart, I always provide an opportunity for the audiences to sing something over and over again with me. So at the end of this song, I do a whole, like, you like that trail off, but it's this whole thing of let my tongue be, let my tongue be, let my tongue be, let my Alma Ree, let my tongue be. Like, I just do that over and over again so the audience can sing with me. And it's like, I missed that just now. It's like, I wish I had recorded that, but then the song would have been 7 minutes long,
Music therapy.
Oh,
Music
yeah.
therapy, right there. Yeah.
For sure. Well, we have Denise Green joining us. She said, sitting here in Minneapolis with my student and friend Edwin Armstrong, loving the music and thinking it's cool he has the same last name. So very cool. Probably related somehow. We're all related somehow. Well, this is so much fun to go visit this album. And you mentioned something about the title of the album, and I don't know if that's something you want to dig into now or if that's something you want to talk about later.
I only thought about I didn't even think about it when I chose this record, but this album title came because I was living in Athens, Georgia, and kind of knowing that I needed to start a new chapter, but I didn't know where. I knew that it was time to leave, but I just didn't know where to go. It was time to leave Athens. And I was playing a show opening for an artist named Jen Bostic. And Jen was on stage singing something. And I heard, and this is the only time I've ever heard a voice speak to me, I promise. But I heard a voice in my right ear say, "Go." And I looked and I was like, there's nobody there. We're just going to ignore that moment, but it did rattle me because it was a very clear go. And I drove back to Athens. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive back to Athens. And I just drove in silence, like, okay, what did that mean? I don't know. Who said it? I don't know. There was no one there. But I do now, to this day, believe that was God telling me to go, and I've never had any kind of spiritual moment like that or heard the voice of God, but that was a definite, this is where you go. And Jen was living in Nashville. And so I was like, okay, well, just tell me where you want me to go. And so for the next year, I am not kidding when I say no matter where I was in Minneapolis twice. And every flight I took, I was sitting beside someone from Nashville. Every venue I went into, there was someone there from Nashville. There was one day I was out in California. I was in like Chico, California, playing a college, someone there from Nashville. And it was kind of like, okay, I get it. Let me just go try it out. I didn't think Nashville had anything for me because I was like, I don't belong in that ecosystem. So why that? And honestly, the fact that I moved there in the midst of making this album titled Go, and then I feel like it was the launch pad. Like I used this album when I came to town to play the shows. These were the songs that got me into the rooms and got me on, a little bit of play on radio. And that's the story of the album.
Wow.
That's cool.
Wow. It really got you going. That's for sure.
Well, I'm glad you're listening to Voices and Dreams.
Yeah. We're all the beneficiaries of that.
I think that, a lot of ways that's artists and musicians, we're just tapping into something bigger. So
it is. It's true.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so great, and so of course so much has happened for you in Nashville too over the years. And I was just thinking about that when I was looking back on my Facebook feed, and there are a few times you popped up in my feed in the last year, and one of them was like you singing with Margot Price on the like Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and like all these like cool things you're doing in addition to your own music. And I just thought like, oh, there must be something about just being in Nashville where you actually just run into these people all around town.
That is the only thing keeping me there is the tribe. That is the only, like I would leave Nashville tomorrow, but I've built such a great tribe of supporters and friends and like colleagues so that magical things like that happen. And it doesn't feel like a big deal. It's just Margot reaching out and saying, hey girl, I got a thing going tomorrow. You want to come sing? Showing up. Sure. I have no idea what this is. And then you find out this is for Colbert. Oh, cool. Or our friend Adia played open for Jason Isbell at the Ryman a few weeks back. And just for her, she's also from South Carolina. She was like, hey, girl, you want to come and sing on the song that we recorded? Sure. That's my first time being on the stage at the Ryman. And Margot's right there beside me taking photos of my first moment on the Ryman stage. It's like,
amazing.
You can't get these opportunities. If I wouldn't have that if I wasn't just around and in it and just circling and having friendships and true deep relationships with people.
Yeah. And we hear that from a lot of folks who, whether it's Nashville, and we've had a lot of folks like the Wild Ponies folks, and we had a lot of Nashville folks on the show who say that, but also, I mean, really in communities all over the place. I mean, that's really what allows musicians. It takes a village to raise a musician.
It does. And, I have to say too, Wild Ponies are really good friends of mine. I love them. I was supposed to be with them last night, but I ended up here in South Carolina. And I think what I love about the town is that so many people from all over the world come in. So where you used to only see artists if you happen to be in their town or if you happen to cross paths in an airport, now it's a definite, hey, like I might meet someone from England while they're in Nashville writing for their record. But when I go to England to tour, I have a friend now. They are now part of that ecosystem. So the fact that people from all over the country, all over the world, still like come into town to do some work and you happen to meet them, that means like the tether, that string, that thread is now cast further out, and it just like widens that. It widens the community that we've all built there. And that's I'm lucky. I feel very lucky for that.
Yeah. Well, and we are so lucky that we get to like tap in and just say hi to all these wonderful Nashville folks from all over the place. And we want to make sure we get more songs from this record though, because it's awesome. And we want to make sure folks get to hear it. The next track you picked out is Heaven is a Beautiful Place. Is there anything you want to say about it?
Yes, this is a song my grandpa HT wrote. His name is Hawthorne Armstrong, which is also my father's name. And I used to hear my grandpa sing all the time. He always led choir in church. He has one of these voices that was just loud. You could hear him all the way down Armstrong Road. So there is Armstrong Road. Oh, that is not my grandpa. Oh. But the news article is my grandpa. Well, that's my grandpa's grave. Mm-hmm. That's Hawthorne HT. That's my grandpa HT right there. And there he is with a microphone in hand. And he used to sit back in his little study with just one of those old school press tape recorders and a microphone and just sing. And I always thought he was just singing old spirituals, but that's how he wrote. He would just sing words into a microphone and record them. And the songs that he led in church were the ones that he sang. And I had a picture up of Armstrong Road as well, that's the road. That's the very end of our road. And it's, I don't know, I always have to take a picture of it of like, there we are.
So that's your like last name. So the road is just your road?
Armstrong Road. Yeah.
Nice.
We're the first house on Armstrong Road. Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. So this song is one that my grandpa wrote. And after he passed away, my aunt and my uncle sang this at his funeral. And I was just blown away at the fact that and people were fighting over the opportunity to sing this song too. Like people were like, I want to sing Heaven is a Beautiful Place. And it was amazing to witness. And I was like, I've got to record this because I wanted to get it copywritten for him. And I wanted to get it documented that it was his song. No matter who else went out there and recorded it, this is by Hawthorne Armstrong. So here we go. Heaven is a Beautiful Place.
All right, let's give it a listen. Heaven is a Beautiful Place on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Heaven is a beautiful place. I know. Heaven is a beautiful place. I know. If you wanna get to heaven on time, you've got to climb the line. Yeah. Heaven is a beautiful place I know. Oh, when I get to heaven, I'm gonna walk the streets like I can. I'm gonna buckle my sword right by my side, stick it in that golden sand. I'm gonna shout out, my troubles are over. I done made it to the promised land. Yes, I know that heaven is a beautiful place I know. Heaven is a beautiful place I know. Heaven is a beautiful place I know. If you wanna get to heaven on time, you've got to come the line. Heaven is a beautiful place I know. Yeah. Oh, sometimes I like to be in company. Then again, I like to be alone. Jesus is my captain, and he's sitting on that throne. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, almost level to the ground. But I know that heaven is a beautiful place I know. Yeah, heaven is a beautiful place. way to leave you with King Jesus by your side. So when I kneel down to pray, all the words I hear my Father say, I hear him saying heaven is a beautiful place, place I know. Heaven is a beautiful place, I know. Heaven is a beautiful place, I know. If you wanna get to heaven on time, you got to bump the line. Heaven is a beautiful place. Heaven is a beautiful place. Yes, I know my heaven is a beautiful place. Yes, I know my heaven is a beautiful place. Yes, I know my heaven is a beautiful place. Place I know.
Oh yeah, Kyshona with "Heaven Is a Beautiful Place," written by her grandfather Hawthorne. And wow, it might be Friday, but that's the kind of gospel really good all week long because
Oh
it
yeah,
gets you grooving and
that's what I
dancing.
grew up with. Yes.
Yes, well, and I like gospel music also that gets you moving like that
Yeah.
because I know that for some traditions it's like, there's that very definite line between the Saturday night and Sunday morning. I like blending them. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the more of that all week long, the better. If I
Yeah.
just
A
do a
little
little bit
slide
of that
guitar in
every
church,
day.
it never hurt anybody,
Oh,
right?
No, no problem. No
oh,
problem.
and I love it. And by the way, the we got to talk about the band on this record because
Yeah,
Yes, please.
I had the same thought, Ellen.
because
Yeah.
so I mean, we heard it on the first one, which had that cool vibey like electric
Yes.
guitar with kind of contrasting with the more rhythmic acoustic, and then in this one, just again all out blues gospel going on,
That
and
rhythm section.
oh
Yes.
yes, I know. I was like, I'm
Yes.
not a drummer, but I was doing some serious air drumming during that
Oh
song.
yeah. It is a band of the most amazing white boys ever, I have to say. Just. And so
Amazing.
the band was Seth Hendershot, who is a drummer and based in Athens, Georgia. And Seth and I, we not at the same time, but we both marched at UGA on the drum line there. And Seth was my boss at a coffee shop called Hendershots. So if you're ever in Athens, Georgia, and you want to go experience not only amazing live music, but also great coffee and snacks, Seth's coffee shop is Hendershots, and it's a jazz singer-songwriter listening room.
That's
And
awesome.
he's built something really amazing over the years. Like when I left music therapy and I started touring, he's the one that was like, "You want to work here and run our open mic?" So I started running their open mic there, and then also I learned how to make coffee, which gave me the ability to move to Nashville, and that was a job I had that I hustled when I wasn't on the road. Seth to this day is my brother. He even played on my next record, which is The Ride 2.0. I took him on the road with me a couple like last month, that is my brother. I love that man so much. He and his family have been so good to me. And then on keys, we have only because we're doing this right now. Is my brain, and I'm drinking wine. Jason Fuller on keys. And then, and he's also still in Athens. And you can catch Jason and Seth playing on jazz nights most every week.
At the coffee shop?
At the coffee shop,
Oh, yeah.
at the listening room, Hendershot's Coffee and Bar.
Do a
And then-
field trip, Anthony.
Yeah, we'll have to do
Yeah.
a on the road episode.
Yes, you should. Yes, because he has some amazing people coming through there, and also you just get to like hang with him. And then on guitar is Nick Johnson. He's based in Atlanta, but he's always in Athens. It's only an hour and a half away. Nick, I was like Seth and the band introduced me to Nick, and he was really young then. He's way younger than me, but like an old soul when it comes to guitar. My dad, being a guitar player, was like, "I like that kid. He knows what he's talking about."
Is he the
Nick
one
was-
doing all this like slide work?
Oh
and stuff?
yeah,
Yeah.
all the slide work.
Super
Yeah,
tasty.
so like he could pull from anything, and he's just calling out albums. You know, I feel like all he ever did, especially back in the day, was just play records and like study. So Nick Johnson. And then on bass, I have a picture of my good friend, Carl Lindbergh. He's in this fancy blue shirt at our album release for this record. And Carl Lindbergh, phenomenal bassist. And I wanted to talk about him especially. There's little Seth down there in the bottom playing drums.
And it's at Hendershots. I see the
This
sign.
is at Hendershot.
Hey, all
yeah.
right. We got a little glimpse inside here.
Yeah. Carl had this soulful voice, and I had a bit of a crush on Carl because of his voice. He used to love to cover Amos Lee's I Am at Ease. Was it I Am at Ease in the Arms of a Woman? It was so like, but sadly, not too long after I moved away, Carl passed away. So he is no longer on this earth. And I always think of him now. I used to associate this song with my grandpa, but I also think of Carl and how I have him like encapsulated in this record and the essence of him. And he used to come, we did a little duo work for a while, just him on bass and cajon singing with me. We toured around for a brief little while, and it was so fulfilling because Carl left it all on the stage every time. And what I really loved about this band during this record was this was my first one where I hired a band. Before, I had always played everything myself, or me and the producer would play all the instruments and just kind of, build from there. But this was the first time of me hiring a band. And this is what these guys do. So they coached me along the way. And I felt like we could play for them the work tapes and play for them the guide tracks that we had. And then we could leave them be, and they were like, we got it. And they had this whole language they would speak because the four of them played together all the time. And there was even a song I had on this album called Can You Feel It, where I had just written it the night before, but I wanted it on the record, and I was like at my wit's end. I hadn't even finished writing the lyrics. We just had like the format of it. And I went and bought burritos. I was like, all right, I'm going to go get lunch. I'm going to go get us burritos from Chipotle, and I'll come back. And when I came back, they had like recorded a whole song, no lyrics, just like the whole entire song, vibe and all. And it's like, this band was the other machine. You know what I mean? Like those are sweet, sweet memories, and they are phenomenal. And if you ever get to see Jason Fuller, Seth Hendershot, Nick Johnson out there in the world, please do.
Excellent.
Go and listen.
Yeah, so they were doing some of that arranging that
Yes.
I'm hearing. Because
Yes.
Joe, our friend Joe, was chimed in, and he loves the way, like you cool it down to the basic rhythm from the more heavily orchestrated parts. And I was thinking about those ups and downs. I was hearing a bit of that, and I was wondering, like where that comes from. Is that?
Yeah. They're really great at also watching and listening. So if they heard that I went low in a chorus, they were like, she wants a down chorus here. It doesn't take a lot. I love them because I don't have to over communicate. It's just a simple glance, or I'll like do a little body movement. And it's like being a music therapist again, of like nonverbal cues. These guys are singing harmonies, and also like, oh, she wants to go quiet here. I'll look at somebody and they're like, that means a solo,
Yeah.
I don't have to do like, you play it solo now. I just look at them. They're like, got it. We got you, Kyshona.
They all speak the same language.
They do. Yeah.
I love it. And I have to ask, for the harmony vocals on that?
Yes, that is Ansley Stewart, who is in Atlanta, Georgia now she is her own artist. So you can look her up, Ansley Stewart. I believe she's put out one record, and then I believe she has another record she's working on. But Ansley was someone that I had recently met. She was a new friend at this time. I was like, this girl's really good at singing harmony. She loved to just sing with me on things. So I invited her into the studio, and we just threw her voice on everything, even Alma Ree.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually had a note from Alma Ree, which we didn't get to talk about the singing on that, but so it must be her that I'm hearing on all these tracks. That's great.
So on Alma Ree, it was actually Ansley, and then my friend Betsy Frank, who is also an artist in her own right. And why I brought Betsy in is because people would hear Betsy's voice at festivals and be like, oh, Kyshona's playing, and vice versa. Wow. But Betsy is like a soulful white woman. And so people would hear the voice and be like, that must be Kyshona, go over. And they're like, that's not Kyshona. And same thing, if they thought, they would hear me thinking I was Betsy. But I asked Betsy to come in and add some harmonies on the Alma Ree song, and she just killed it. Especially at the end, you can hear her be the echo a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, really great. And we got a question from Chris saying, what instruments do you play and what do you use to compose? I was actually going to ask about that too, since I know you have a background in piano, but I know mainly you play guitar now. Yeah, what do you write your songs on?
Yeah, I write songs on guitar and piano. Mainly guitar. If you ever hear a ballad come out of me, that's me writing on piano. It just leans that way. If it's either ballady or very like bouncy, that means I wrote it on piano. But outside of that, I also play steel drums, oboe, and then I used to play more percussion than I do now. But that's it. Bass guitar for a hot minute with Jonathan Bird.
Wow,
I was
awesome.
in Jonathan Bird's trio. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So when you're going to write a song, what do you grab?
Typically, I grab a guitar. Typically, but honestly, if there's a piano in the room and I'm like, I don't really feel like guitar today, I will go to that. And it's funny because I just wrote with Jen Bostic. She and I actually had a write this past week, and she grabbed a guitar. She's a piano player. But she grabbed the guitar and we were like, are we swapping today? What's going to happen? But it was kind of funny. But like, we're both in each other's lanes. But you have to do that because it does force you to write differently for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it's great to hear about the drums and the steel drum too. Does the steel drum ever make it on a recording?
No, but again,
it's a big sound, but
it's a big sound. I've had many iterations. So before with the Home Again record, I used to have a band called we were just Kyshona, but the band was Paul Thornton on bass and also steel drums, and my buddy Dylan on drums, and me on guitar. So I had steel drums in my band,
nice.
Which people were always thrown off by, but it worked. It worked. They were like, it's interesting. He would just loop his bass and then do a badass like pan solo and then come back to a little bass moment, you know.
That's awesome. And I have to go back to the oboe only to let you all know that is what Kyshona, myself, and Katie Dahl all have in common, is that we all played the oboe at one point in our lives. I think most of us in high school. I know Katie played actually through college, and it was only when she had like some sort of she got really sick or wasn't able, or broke her arm or something happened and she couldn't play oboe, and that's when she started playing guitar. But for me, again, as you pointed out, Kyshona, you can't sing and play oboe at the same time. And I keep hoping that one day I can work in an oboe. I mean, my embouchure's shot, but if I really worked on it, wouldn't it be cool to like bring in an oboe in the middle of like a set? Except how do you keep the reeds wet? There's a lot of logistics that are complicated for it.
I mean, that's why you have a little pill bottle with the water in it. You know what I mean?
True.
It's
Yeah,
like,
you just stick it in there.
And wait, didn't you and Katie conspire to do like an oboe album? I think we found another person.
Oh my God,
can we do it?
I think we have to do something. Even
we're going to start a Kickstarter here for oh my God. Really amazing.
I will play English
horn. Oh my gosh, because think about all the instruments we could have on this that would be so weird and no one would ever buy it. It'd be like 3 oboes, a banjo, a steel drum.
Yeah.
Or they would, because Seal got away with it. You know what I mean? So maybe they would be totally into it. I don't know.
And you have that cool one name thing like Seal. That maybe could get us through that gate, you know, like Prince, you know, Kyshona, you know, but I'm just saying, I feel like there's some way we could make it happen. So
and the oboe, I think, is just one of those underrated instruments. I mean, it really is an amazing sound. So I for one would back that Kickstarter.
And you know what? You know what else too? I feel like someone once told me, when I told them that I had once played the oboe, they're like, well, that makes sense because the banjo is kind of like the oboe of the string band world. And I was like, actually, it's kind of true, because in that it's a very unique sound, a really great sound.
I won't get offended, but okay, yeah.
I think I took it as a compliment because I think of it
because you love the banjo so much,
right? Exactly. So maybe Kyshona's in a different space with that, but I will say that it's a very it's a very unique sound, and it can either be really painful or it can be really beautiful. And I also think that unique people are drawn to the instrument in that way, and that it's like, you know, you gotta either embrace it and know that people will make fun of you when you play it.
Absolutely.
So you have to have a sturdy sense of self to do it.
Oh yeah. I'm an Enneagram 4, which apparently we like to be individuals, which I was like, They tried to put me on clarinet. And I was like, everybody plays clarinet. I don't want to play the clarinet.
And that's why I took a banjo. It's like, everyone plays guitar. I'm taking a banjo.
Yeah, it was practical for me.
go.
I was like, everyone's going to know I suck at guitar, but no one knows how the banjo's supposed to sound. So.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, we have to play at least one more song here because this record's so dang good. And I should actually, this is a great moment to mention. And by the way, we have someone tuning in from the UK, which is amazing. Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
And so great. I do want to mention that if you're liking the music you hear, are there still physical copies of the album available?
Oh yeah, I have like there's a bunch.
So you would be helping Kyshona out.
Clear out my closet.
Yes, because I know some of our regulars are starting kind of libraries of all the musicians that have been here on Back Catalog. So I'm betting she'd throw a signature on it for you if you want that.
I would.
So order, because I will say the production of this record is killer. So you want to hear it in the really full form. So definitely don't just trust the interwebs of what you're hearing today. If you like what you're hearing that way, you're gonna love the whole record. So
I got to just say along those lines. So like we listen to at least a record a week, to prep for the show, and I usually like a couple days before I'll put on the headphones and I'll give it a good listen. And I was actually really blown away by the production on this album. I mean, it really sounds spectacular.
Paul Reed,
Okay, so I was going to ask about producer, and I was going to ask about maybe the studio as well, because it just sounds so good. To echo Ellen, you definitely need to get this on CD or high resolution download or something, because it really sounds good. The stereo field is kind of really gives all the songs a lot of space, and I've just really enjoyed it. Can you just talk real briefly about where you recorded it and how that came about?
Yeah, Paul's studio is called Domus Sound. And Paul Reeves I met because he was a worship leader at the church, and he would produce a lot of folks' records. And I was like, hey, Paul, would you want to try this thing? Y'all, the movie just hit epic moment.
It's all good.
It was a whole string.
It actually was perfect, right? When you started talking about the production, you're like,
But so Paul's when I recorded with Paul, it was his studio was in the basement of his house, and usually it's always attached to his home, and it was a great vibe. We would go in there to write, and then we would go into his one room little tracking studio. So it was honestly an in-house studio, like self-built studio, and he's since moved to Atlanta, and that, as far as I know, the studio is still in his home. But Paul is a phenomenal producer. Mainly now, I think he produces the records for the worship team that he leads at his church. But great, like he did 2 of the records that I've had before, I believe. Yeah, he's great guy, great
Sounds
vibe.
amazing. You wouldn't think it was in a like his house. I was thinking like I thought you were gonna name off one of the big high profile studios in Nashville or something.
No, which is proof that like. You just have to have great players and people that understand you and your sound. And it's funny because listening back to this album, I'm like, this is why people kept thinking I was more rock, especially with this next song we're about to play. People were like, aren't you more? She's like more rock and roll. But I've always thought of myself as a soul singer or like a little bluesy. I just say roots now. But the way this next song kind of kicks off is like, oh, there it is. I see.
Well, we should get to that next song then. This is Cornelius Dupree. Is there anything you want to say, or we just want to kick it off?
Let's kick it off, and I'll say something about it later.
All
Sounds
right.
Good.
Let's give it a listen. This is Cornelius Dupree on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Chest. Tightness all around, hands are shaking, fingers pointing now, the future's breaking. I feel the heart pumping in my chest. To feel the blood rush into my head. To feel the blood rush into my head. For crimes not mine, I won't confess, no. Oh, I feel the blood rush into my head. Darkness all around, I see upon me. Soul is breaking down, my boss around me. I feel the blood rush into my head. For crimes not mine, try to hold me down, but I won't confess. No, for crimes not mine, try to hold me down, but I won't confess. No. To feel the earth underneath my feet, my feet, my feet. To feel the earth underneath my feet. For 30 long years, won't claim defeat. No, no. I feel the earth underneath my feet. Light is in me now, love surrounds me. I told my truth and now the world applauds me. I feel the earth underneath my feet. For crimes not mine, try to hold me down. For crimes not mine, try to hold me down. For crimes not mine, try to hold me down, but I won't confess.
Wow. Kyshona,
Yeah.
Cornelius Dupree here on the back catalog listening party. That was powerful.
Yeah. I call that the dying dinosaur song. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
very like, "Rrr."
it is, and Joe mentions it a little off. You know, it's a little off the R&B path there. And you mentioned this. Oh, this is the record where people thought, that
Yeah.
we, we're maybe a little more on the rock side. Can you talk a little bit about Cornelius and the
Yeah.
inspiration behind the song?
Absolutely. So Cornelius Dupree, which there was a photo of him that I uploaded for you guys. Cornelius Dupree was wrongfully imprisoned for a little over nearly 30 years for a crime that he did not commit. So I heard of his story when I was on tour in Texas. And I just happened to turn on the news when I was in Dallas County, Texas, and they were speaking of he was like on the news on the front steps of this courthouse, and they were talking about him being exonerated, and how when he was 19, he was, and yeah, there is Cornelius, and he said this quote that like, this isn't it, but basically he said, all I've ever wanted was for my truth to be heard, and finally somebody heard it. And it was because of the Innocence Project. And so to be honest, this song was my first step into being what now I use as my mission statement, to be a voice in a vessel for those who feel lost, forgotten, silenced, who are hurting. Started with this song of me trying to tell someone else's story. I've never met Cornelius, but his story was so heartbreaking to me. And the fact that for 30 years, he just kept truth. Truth is all that if I just speak my truth, let me just speak my truth. And I was like, I have to write this. This is the one song. It's the longest it's ever taken me to write this song. Because I didn't want to put words in his mouth, and I didn't want to make any assumptions, which maybe I did, but yeah, I always encourage people to go to the Innocence Project and look at their local chapter. Because, I've since writing this song, like I've since been doing work of teaching those that are incarcerated how to write music and how to tell their story. This is, I work with the nonprofit in Nashville called Send Musicians to Prison. And also another nonprofit called Wild Indigo Programs. And with Send Musicians to Prison, we would go behind bars and put on concerts for the inmates as a reminder that they have not been forgotten. They are loved. Love still exists in the world. Just because you are here does not mean, you might not feel seen, but somebody sees you. We see you. We're here. And with Wild Indigo Programs, I was teaching women who were incarcerated, and it was a 9-week program. And my whole mission was teaching them how to take their story and their experiences and to write something that because think about it, music goes on forever, right? Songs last forever, long after we're gone, hence my grandfather's song. But the fact that they could write something that would be passed on to woman after woman as they were incarcerated, and that has happened. We've written songs that, 2 years later, there are women who did not meet the people who wrote it, but they're still singing that song. Wow. Behind bars. And so Cornelius is how that all started for me, was with that song.
Wow, that is really powerful. And we can provide a link to this work that you're doing.
Yeah.
What's the best place to send people?
You can go to yoursong.org. This is a charitable organization that I've just started this year. It kind of bloomed and blossomed in the year of 2020. But I've taken this mission statement of being a voice in a vessel and have just been offering it to anybody. I've since gotten my certification back for being a music therapist. Excellent. And I am working with so many programs. I've been writing with women who have been taken off the streets from being trafficked. I'm working with women who are in recovery with their children, writing lullabies for their songs. But if you go to yoursong.org, you can see the individuals and organizations that I've partnered with. And if you know anyone, or if you are a part of an organization, or if you want to gift someone a therapeutic songwriting session, you can send them there and you can book a session with me through that. Nice. And we're in the beginning phases, but this is something that I feel really drawn to. And it's been a great pleasure to not only do this myself, but then to invite the venues and the performing arts centers that I perform at to be a part of Your Song, asking them when I'm touring there, is there someone in your community that you would like to offer therapeutic songwriting services to? And every time they say yes, here's an organization. And so I've met so many amazing people in communities, and it makes me feel more grounded and rooted when I am on the road, because I get to do this work and then bring them on stage to tell their story, similar to how I'm telling Cornelius's story, because your song can save someone.
And we will link that in the show notes for those of you who are just tuning in or are just listening on the audio version. We'll have a link to yoursong.org in the show notes. That's a really amazing program. And, once a music therapist, always a music therapist.
Always a music therapist. Never leave the bones. Yeah.
And music is therapy. And that is a big reason why we do this show, and we can't thank you enough, Kyshona, for sharing your music with us today. This has been an amazing hour of music.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Exactly.
This was
It's really
fun.
great. And we want to thank all of you for joining us from all over the world, UK, South Carolina, Texas, Minnesota. And if you like the show, then give it the like on YouTube and direct more bots to Kyshona's music. And also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And we'll make, because we do this every Friday, not with Kyshona every week, but with different guest artists every week, digging into old records, listening to them with you. And we would love for you to join us again. I also want to thank all our Patreon supporters who make this show possible. When we started, it was a coping mechanism. Also in 2020, Kyshona,
and it might still be a coping
music
mechanism.
Therapy, yeah. And but because of all of you, we've kept it going, and we plan on keeping it going as long as you're out there listening and enjoying and supporting. So thanks to Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, B. Ellen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead Pick and Parlor, where I bought my banjo, Severin from Germany, all of you. So if you want to join the Patreon community, feel free. We let you know about guests before anyone else. We have after parties, other special cool things. So you can check that out. But mainly, just thank you for being here and share the episode if you like it.
Yeah.
And I will say, we were going to do one more other song. And it's up to Kyshona whether she has time to stick around, whether she wants to do another one or not. Because we could go out with one more.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got the thumbs up.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
All right.
I got a little corner left in here. Why not? You know,
Got some drink left.
Yeah, I got a little bit left here.
You know?
If you
Why
folks
not?
are, if you go, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, the next one we have is The Light. Anything you want to say before we go out with this song?
I needed to be reminded of this song, to be honest. I wrote this one. Something that's happened since I've moved to Nashville is I haven't written alone in a long time. You get caught up in the co-writer world. But when I re-listened to this record to figure out what I wanted to do, this song is honestly kind of the song that I'm always singing in my heart. I need the light. I need the light to save me too. And I try to be a light no matter where I go. And I think it's also, I wanted to end the record this way, just as a call and a beck. And I feel like this record was the start of me becoming the artist that I am today. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's the perfect way to send you all off on this weekend. Kyshona, The Light on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Am I who I think I am? Is this all I am gonna be? All these voices in my head, nothing but dark surrounding me. Not long ago I see my life as a world that was built on free. Now the highway's no longer my home, and these four walls imprison me. Let me be. I need have no more fight left in me. Give me the grace to travel this road, and with each step serenity. Let me be. I need the light like a warm embrace. I need the light to chase the storm away. It'll be alright someday, someday. I need the light. I need the light like a warm embrace. I need the light to chase the storm away. It'll be alright someday, someday. I need the light.
All right, Kyshona with the light. And I have to say, I think my blood pressure dropped like 20 points.
That was just the meditation I needed
Yeah.
to start the weekend.
Yeah, it's like a
It's
great way to
moment.
cleanse from the work week and start our weekend. Right. So
Yeah.
beautiful. And again, it's hard to believe that you came to singing later, because I feel like your voice in that is just it's not, you have such a powerful voice, but what I love in this song is you get to see like just how soulful and sensitive it can be, and it's just really beautiful. So thank you for sharing
you
that
so
with us
much.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
for being all of our music therapists today.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I feel
I
great.
just need this every week.
Yeah,
Oh, I mean,
I was
we have-
having kind of a rough day, but I'm
know.
feeling much better right now. What
I
you're
feel
doing
like-
is really important.
Yeah, I feel like, back catalog is always therapy for us, but I feel like I need just like a little Kyshona every week, just to get me back on track. So
Let's do it, people. Let's do it. All right.
Yeah,
How can we make that
that's
happen?
right. Well, first, folks can buy your album. Yes, exactly. Just see it on the bottom of the screen. Go to Kyshona.com.
Yep.
You can check out her again, nonprofit too, yoursong.org, but buy her music, check it out. All of it is great. So you're not gonna, if you want to explore her other records, again, her latest listen is amazing too. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So great to see your face, and
You too.
I can't wait to see you in person someday
Yeah.
when you find your way back up here.
Someday. Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, mama. Bye, mama.
Oh, and I love that this brought the whole family together. This is
Yes,
great.
exactly.
Dad in there, mom here. It's great.
I know. I love it. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party next Friday at 4. And I can't remember who, I think Humbird is next week, which I'm really excited about. And then the week after, well, there's so many good things coming up. The Patreon folks know.
Come
who's
next
coming up
week and
after.
you'll find out who's coming
Yes.
up
Because
next.
I will say we have another amazing blues guitarist coming up in 2 weeks too, which is so good. I can't wait. We'll tell Kyshona when we're off mic, but the rest of you have to, just join us and find out and subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you so much. Have a great
Bye.
week.
Bye, y'all.
Cheers,
Thanks